to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First thing we're going to do this evening is go into a 10-minute executive session to discuss potential litigation. It's RCW 4230.110(1)(I). Seconds, okay. Thank you, Quincy.
You're welcome. Clock must be fast.
My clock was fast, I guess. Okay, so we're back in session, and we're to the approval of the agenda. Does anyone wish to make any amendments to the agenda?
Mayor, I'd like to add an item to the business 7G, and that would be a resolution authorizing code enforcement officer and city attorney to initiate a lawsuit for warrant of abatement, 1398 Canyon Lane.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to add a business item 7G, which is a warrant of abatement on 1398 Canyon Lane. Any discussion of that item being added? In favor of adding the item, say aye.
Aye.
Hearing none, we've added that as item G. Any other amendments to this evening's agenda? Someone want to approve the agenda? Yes,
Mr. Mayor, I would move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended. Any discussion of the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the agenda as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. We are to citizen comments. And this is for any items on the agenda. Kathleen, you have something for us?
I'm Kathleen Wilson. I'm the manager at the library and also the president of the Port Orchard Bay Street Association. And I just wanted to comment on an item on the agenda, which is business item 7D, approval of a special event application for the Port Orchard Bay Street Association Art and Antique Fair. And just let you know that I'm here to answer any questions that you might have about that when we come to that section. That's an event that the Port Orchard Bay Street Association is newly putting on this year to coordinate with the Chris Craft Festival, the Chris Craft Rendezvous, which is in its 28th annual year. Those boaters are very valuable to our town, and we wanted to show them how much we value their coming year after year to our marina, and also provide something else for our citizens and our tourists to come and do during that weekend. So this will be a really fun art and antique fair with artists and some antique booths, lots of music in the newly created park at 639A. And I do want to note, at the time, the Scully's Marine store had not been open, so I didn't check with that store owner. I have, in the meantime, since he has opened his business, talked with Phil Steffen, and he's fully supportive of this event. His business will be the only business directly affected because the street closure that we've proposed is just that stretch of Frederick Street where his business is. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to comment? Jerry, anything for on the agenda? Okay. We close the first citizen comment period. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion of the consent agenda items?
I would just like to say I am so happy that the carnival was timely this year in getting their application in. So Randy, I'm assuming you have something to do with that.
And I'm excited we have our last 5 Tremont easements
Yay.
on here too, so.
I would also comment, I'm very happy the carnival's at the Town Square Mall,
Yeah, I thought, me too.
but it's not the Fathoms Carnival.
It's not the Fathoms. This is the one they do every year, and they always come in late
But
at the last minute.
Okay. Any further discussion of the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to the consent agenda, say nay. Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved. We have a presentation next, Home Energy Assessment Outreach by Puget Sound Energy.
Lights off and everything.
It's magic.
Well, thanks for having me here this evening. Appreciate your time. My name is Scott Harder, and I'm an outreach coordinator with Puget Sound Energy. Just some quick stats of Puget Sound Energy. Our service area is 6,000 square miles. Our service area population approximately 4 million, with more than 1 million electric customers and 790,000 natural gas customers. As we move to the next slide. Oh, right here. At PSE, we start all of our meetings with the safety moment, and I chose this one since spring is here and we're all finally getting outside of our homes into our yards. Just want to remember whether you're outside with your children, working on landscaping projects, to keep a safe distance from power lines and other equipment. Never touch or go near a down power line. The ladders, if they get anywhere close within a weatherhead, even within 10 feet, it can provide a shock. So something just to be wary of. So what is a home energy assessment? Basically, what's going to happen is a PSE energy auditor is going to visit many homes in the area and assess all the aspects about the home's energy use, space, water heating systems, insulation levels, and other weatherization measures, and water conservation potential. They'll give homeowners great ideas on actions to take to increase energy efficiency, low cost, no cost, full energy retrofits, and everything in between. At every step of the process, there's going to be rebates available to customers for new energy saving options. So when we choose an area, we try and find areas in our service area that with a need of enhanced general awareness of our energy efficiency programs and where low volume of participation has occurred in the past. So, and we also try and recognize ease of walking and canvassing activities in identified neighborhoods, especially ones with strong HOAs. And then we're also looking for housing stock built before 1990. And then when we start to prepare, we have contractors that work with the city to gain the permits we need. We come to city council presentations like this. We'll come afterwards and give you guys some statistics. Our outreach team works with our market research team to cross-reference maps that work best for canvassing, along with our data services. So as you can see here, they identified these two different areas in Port Orchard. You can see it right there. So what's going to happen is,
Are these the only two areas?
yes, these are the only two areas that we're going to be doing this.
They're not in the city
They're not in the
limits.
city.
What's that?
They're not in our city. They're in the,
They're in the county.
They're in an urban growth area, but not
Oh.
the city.
But you can go ahead.
What the heck?
we were going to ask,
Within city limits.
They're not.
No.
That is an action item on my end.
Sam, I'm trying to find Bethel. It's across the street.
Our marketing team, we will be sending direct mail postcards 1 week before canvassing activities occur. We'll have sandwich boards in the neighborhoods when our team is out on foot going door to door. And for customers who are not present during the walk, they will get door hangers with information on how they can get a home energy assessment scheduled. So we're going to be spending 3 days, which is May 22nd through the 24th. And they're just identifying these areas of our territory with enhanced general awareness of the energy efficiency programs and where the participation has not occurred in the past, as I talked. And on the map, as you saw, that is where they targeted based on participation in the past. The program team that's doing the HOA, going door to door, they're going to inform our contractor, which is Franklin Energy Services, of the where they're going to be each day. Those guys should be about, if not same day, next day, talking with customers to schedule their home energy assessments. So usually they don't have to wait long at all, and then they can usually be scheduled out either next day or within the next few weeks. And our canvassing team, they're usually upbeat, enthusiastic, and driven, and young. They're trained on customer service and the program. They go through a rigorous role-playing question and answers. And then their uniforms, they'll either be blue or orange. I'm thinking right at this point it's going to be orange. We try and do something where they're very visible as they're walking the streets. And they'll have name tags and credentials with them. So you do have questions.
You're gonna wanna make the same presentation to the county commissioners, because these homes are it's up in the county,
Yeah.
and so that, you know where that's at, just up the road, okay. Other questions?
Did you want customers to sign up maybe online if they want the assessment?
They can. Yeah, this is just something, it's something we don't really advertise in the great wide open, but it's something that somebody can go to the website right now and sign up for.
Other questions? Thank you. I wish we were doing it in the city. Come back next year.
All right, thank you.
All right. Okay, we're on to our business items. We're to item 7A, a second reading and adoption of an ordinance amending the 2017-2018 biennial budget. Mr. Martin.
Two members of the Port Orchard City Council, distinguished friends and colleagues, citizens of Port Orchard. Actions involving amendments to the budget take two readings. This is the second reading of an ordinance amending ordinance number 4016, adopting the 2017-2018 biennial budgets, and subsequently amended by resolution number 1017. The public may comment on the amendment following its presentation. The city budget is written to capture revenue and expenses over the fiscal period. During the biennial period, changes to the budget in both revenue and expenditures need to be recognized by budget amendment. This budget amendment ordinance is to provide funding for purchase of property relating to the Bay Street pedestrian pathway. Negotiations to purchase the property and acquire easements extended past the end of 2016 and into 2017, and the 2016 budget appropriation expired on December 31st, 2016. The budget amendment reflects the following: $98,830 from grant funding to the Street Capital Projects Fund, $118,670 transferred from the Real Estate Excise Tax Fund, and $7,500 transferred from the City Street Fund for capital projects for the Bay Street pedestrian pathway property purchase. Staff recommends adopting the ordinance amending the 2017-2018 biennial budgets. Thank you.
Charlie.
Mayor, I move to adopt the ordinance amending the 2017-2018 biennial budgets for the city of Port Orchard.
Second that.
Second by Councilmember Donlin. Discussion of this item?
We will open it up for the public.
Certainly. Does anyone wish to testify on this budget amendment? Hearing none. Further discussion by the council? Be voting on the second reading and adoption of an ordinance amending the 2017-28 biennial budget. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. We are to item 7B, adoption of an ordinance adopting the 2017 zoning map. Mr. Bond.
Yes, thank you. At the April 25th, 2017 City Council meeting, the City Council adopted a new zoning designation of R8 MWD, which allows alternative design and development standards for certain properties that are currently zoned R8. The new designation was not applied to any properties at the time of adoption. The developer at McCormick Woods, McCormick Communities LLC, has indicated an interest in developing certain portions of McCormick Woods Parcel D and E in accordance with the R8 MWD development standards. Accordingly, with the concurrence of McCormick Communities LLC, the Community Development Department staff has prepared a legislative amendment to the city's zoning map, which would designate those parcels as R8 MWD instead of their current zoning of R8. The Planning Commission reviewed the proposed 2017 zoning map as amended, and after a public hearing, made a recommendation unanimously to approve the 2017 zoning map, and staff's recommendation is to approve the 2017 zoning map.
Mr. Diener.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt an ordinance adopting the 2017 zoning map.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Ashby. Discussion of this matter?
Just that we also talked about it at the Land Use Committee meeting as well.
Yes, we did. Other comments, questions? Okay, be voting on adoption of an ordinance, adopting the 2017 zoning map. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. We are to item 7C, adoption of a resolution adopting the final plat of Eldon Trails Division 2, McCormick Woods, Phase 5. Mr. Bond.
Yes, thank you. The site is identified as Eldon Trails Preliminary Plat, part of McCormick Woods Phase 5, and was granted approval with conditions by the Kitsap County Hearing Examiner on July 26, 2007. A SEPA MDNS was issued on February 17, 2012. Division 2 of Eldon Trails subdivision creates 54 single-family residential lots and 5 tracts. The applicant has installed or bonded for roadway, illumination, roads, sidewalks, landscaping, water and sewer, and storm drainage improvements. Streets within the final plat are public use and will be accepted into the city's road system. Staff recommends adoption of a resolution granting final plat approval to Eldon Trails Division 2.
Ms. Lucarelli.
I move to adopt a resolution as presented granting final plat approval for Eldon Trails Division 2.
Councilmember Donlin seconded that. Any questions for staff or any comments? Mr. Chang.
Nick, I was wondering if you can direct me to I appreciate the maps, and I see that on one map, it says Tract 5. Is that for Division 1 or Division 2? I'm just trying to place the location of Division 2. Okay. In color.
If you look at the areas that are kind of the teal green color, it's the central and northernmost area that is being platted for final plat right now.
Okay, so the northwest teal green is both Division 1 and 2.
Division 1 is the one
On the
that
west.
is kind of right in the middle that has small lots shown. You can see the parcel lines where that was already recorded. The unrecorded part is to the north of that. I can point to it on
Old
here.
Clifton.
Oh, it took,
Right off Old Clifton.
And Division 1 was this area down here.
Oh, okay.
You've driven over there the last couple of weeks, they cut in a road. It's not gonna be open, but it's for emergency services to get from Old Clifton right into that particular development. So you might have seen some construction there a week and a half ago or something. Where that guardrail is just before you approach Anderson Hill Road.
it looks like they have the streets paved, or some of them
Oh,
anyway.
yeah.
Paved.
Other questions? Okay. Hearing none, we'll be voting on the adoption of a resolution adopting the final plat of Eldon Trails Division 2, McCormick Woods Phase 5. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? When hearing none, the motion carries. We are to 7D, approval of a special event application, Port Orchard Bay Street Association Art and Antique Fairs. Clerk Reinderson.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor, Council. So Kathleen Wilson with the Port Orchard Bay Street Association submitted an application for the POBSA Arts and Antique Fair event to be held Friday, July 14th through Saturday, July 15th. The event will begin at 10 a.m. and end at 6 p.m. The association is requesting use of city property at 639 Bay Street, formerly Los Cabos, portions of the merchant parking stalls on Sydney Parkway from Frederick to Kitsap Bank, and street closure of Frederick from Bay Street to the parking lot. The Arts and Antique Fair purpose is to bring additional entertainment to the 28th Annual Chris Craft Rendezvous. They are anticipating about 1,500 people to attend. Port Orchard Municipal Code 5.94.050 subsection 4 requires council approval of an event with the street or highway closures that are not exempt outlined in Resolution 024-17. This event falls within the council's policy on street and highway closures. City Department, South Kitsap Fire and Rescue, and Kitsap Transit have reviewed the application and have submitted their recommendations and/or comments, which have been provided to you. If council finds that the event will not seriously inconvenience or impair the general public's use of public property, services, or facilities, then staff recommends approving the special event application as presented.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to approve the special event application for POBSA Art and Antiques Fair to hold their event using city properties and allow for street closures as presented.
Second by Mr. Diener. Motion by Mr. Donlin. Discussion to this item?
My only question is the parking area behind, between Kitsap Bank and Frederick. Is there room? What are you going to be putting in there?
Kathleen, maybe if you could come to the microphone
Yeah.
so we can pick you up.
So we discussed with the marina having additional, so the majority of the vendors will be down Frederick Street. There's potential to have additional vendors in that, those stalls that are traditionally reserved for merchant parking. But it's fairly unlikely that we'll do that. I think we're gonna just concentrate on having vendors on the street, and then we have a few businesses such as the Sydney Gallery that will have a full complement of artists and vendors on their lawn. So I'm thinking that we're not going to use that area for the antique fair. We would most likely just concentrate on Frederick.
And just might I say that because I know that there's traffic still going through that area.
Right. There is room there, where there is not room on the back side of the pavilion, where there are those empty spaces right alongside the pavilion. That wouldn't allow for room for the traffic, for vendors and traffic. Those spaces, there's ample room for traffic and
okay.
the spaces, because the spaces are much wider. But I think at this point, it's pretty unlikely that we'll use those.
Thank you.
Kathleen, are you using any part of Sydney? We're saying Sydney Parkway. Is that the part?
That was what I found the official name of that parking
right
lot.
here's
That's north of Bay Street?
Yeah, this is all Sydney Parkway right here is what's identified in,
Behind,
When you
behind
Google
the,
it.
Yeah.
Towards the water.
yeah, on the.
Okay, so it's not the portion of Sydney where, between Myries and the library? That's
No,
not Sydney
no,
Parkway,
That's
okay.
not Sydney Parkway. Sydney Parkway is the parking lot road,
Okay.
basically.
Oh, we named the parking lot road. Do you happen to know how large the tent's gonna be at 639? Is it like 10,000 square feet or, any idea?
No, it's not larger than 700 square feet. It's
Oh.
under 700 square feet.
Only 700 square feet.
So I think it's like 640 or something.
It looks like a huge tent from the picture. That's why I was asking.
The picture? Oh, right. I just kind of outlined the whole park.
Okay. I thought it was one big,
Because
huge tent
actually
there.
in that picture, I think the building is still there. So I was trying to show where the vacant lot is now.
Thank you.
Other questions? Just like to thank Kathleen and Bobby and the merchants for doing this, bringing another event to our waterfront. So, no other questions or comments? We'll be voting to approve a special event application, Port Orchard Bay Street Association Art and Antique Fair. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. We are on to 7E, approval of the April 18th, 2017 council work study minutes. And you'll be abstaining. And Mr. Chang?
Move approval of the April 18th council work study meeting minutes.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Chang and a second by Mr. Donlin. Any discussion of the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And one abstention. And we are to 7F, which is the approval of the April 25th, 2017 council meeting minutes. Councilmember Lucarelli.
I make motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of April 25th, 2017.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kachardi. Any discussion of those council meeting minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, where the minutes have been approved, we are to the item that was added this evening, 7G, which is the abatement of property at 1398 Canyon Lane. Ms. Cates, do you want to speak to that?
Thank you, council members, mayor. The City of Port Orchard has been pursuing the abatement of 1398 Canyon Lane under the provisions of the 1997 Uniform Code for the Abatement of Dangerous Buildings, as adopted by Port Orchard Municipal Code, Section 1504010. While the buildings on this property was permitted in 1981 to be constructed as a single-family dwelling, it was not constructed according to approved plans and specifications, and a stop work order was issued by the city in 1982. Revised plans were submitted in 1982 and approved. However, construction again ceased in 1983 or 1984. The building has remained in an unprotected, increasingly deteriorating condition since 1984, during which time the property has been repeatedly dumped on and the building entered by children and vagrants. Between 1996 and 2005, the property has been the subject of repeated abatement orders and other enforcement measures to have the property cleaned up and the building secured from entry. In 2007 to 2008, the city issued an abatement order for a failing addition to the rear of the building due to movement of the ground and structural failure. The 13-foot rear addition was demolished. The new rear wall was never finished and the windows and doors were never installed. The building is built on top of a steep slope of unstable soils, and a 2009 engineer's report noted that the west side of the building had settled by 3 inches. In February 2011, the current owner of the property purchased the property by foreclosure sale. Between 2013 and 2014, the city issued notices and abatement orders to the owner for the unsecured building, structural deterioration, vegetation, and debris. On March 16, 2016, the building was inspected by the city and determined to be dilapidated, unsecured, and dangerous, and the city found that the building violated numerous provisions of the UCADB. On May 23, 2016, the city issued a notice and order to abate dangerous building and public nuisance, hereinafter notice and order, in accordance with the UCADB. When on October 7, 2016, the city again inspected the building and found no change in condition, the city mailed the notice and order to the property owner. The property owner responded to the notice and order by telephone to the City of Port Orchard Code Enforcement Officer, Doug Price, on April 6, 2017, but did not propose and has not begun any action to remedy the violations, and the property owner has filed no appeal of the notice and order. To date, the dangerous building has not been abated. The next step to secure compliance with the city's notice and order is to obtain a warrant of abatement from the Kitsap County Superior Court. Authorization to initiate lawsuits on behalf of the city must be obtained from this Port Orchard City Council. So the recommendation is to provide the city attorney and the code enforcement officer with authorization to move forward with the lawsuit to seek a warrant of abatement.
Mr. Diener?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the resolution authorizing the Port Orchard Code Enforcement Officer and City Attorney to undertake such actions as are necessary and appropriate to initiate and pursue a lawsuit for a warrant of abatement for the owners of 1398 Canyon Lane on behalf of the City of Port Orchard as presented.
Councilmember Donlin seconded that. Any questions? Mr. Diener?
I just wanted to applaud Doug Price for his diligence in advising that the city take this matter up now rather than wait, because we would have had to, I think, retreat on our position given the other code model that we're looking at. So this is an action that is not always pretty to do, and we're going to have to spend a little bit of money on this, but the timing was good.
Yes, Mr.
Yeah,
Kachardi?
I would just add, I appreciate the ongoing commitment to looking at this issue more seriously moving forward, how it's been elevated as a priority, and so these issues don't take 30 years to address as we continue to move forward.
Other comments or questions? Are we voting on a motion to abate property known as 1398 Canyon Lane? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, please proceed. Motion carries. We are to committee reports. Finance Committee, I don't believe, has met. Mr. Clausen's absent. I don't believe we have a meeting coming up on May 22nd.
Correct.
The Economic Development and Tourism Committee.
Yes, we met on Monday, May 1st, And our first item on our agenda was a presentation from the Grays Harbor Historical Seaport and Tall Ships Association. Zachary Stocks was here, and they are bringing the Lady Washington and the Hawaiian Chieftain to Port Orchard the last week of July, and they gave us a nice presentation on how we can have a good partnership and everyone enjoy the tall boats. We do have a copy of his PowerPoint, and I will make sure all the council members get it. I've been gone, but it's a great presentation, and they do a lot of education, and we're very enthused about them coming. The next item on our agenda is we had our monthly discussion with our business representatives, and Bobby Stewart from the POBSA talked a little bit about Ladies' Night Out and the Dragonflies inaugural film festival. And we announced that the next Roger Brooks webinar will be May 17th, which I think is next Wednesday at 8:30 here in council chambers. Then we continued our discussion on our tourism promotion strategic plan. We spent considerable time on that. We got all the way through it, and we will be bringing it forward to our work study next week. I think it's next week, yes. And then the last item on our agenda was a trademark use policy. Unfortunately, we had already been meeting for 3 hours, and we yes, it took a while to get through the tourism plan. So we postponed that, and we will be looking at it in June unless council would like us to bring it to work study without the committee, reviewing it. So if council is not feeling that that's time sensitive, Economic Development can review it in June, and we can bring it to June's work study. And with that, we were adjourned.
Okay, thank you for your report. Utility Committee? Utility Committee? I know you're scanning ahead, that's good.
Caught up, Matt, sorry. Yes, our next meeting is Monday at 9:30 here at City Hall.
Okay, has Sewer Advisory Committee met?
No, that'll be June 21st, 6:30 at the Swerf Building on Beach Drive.
Okay, we're to land use.
I think I did a report out, but I don't
I think
really
you did,
recall.
and you have a
Okay.
meeting next week.
Yeah, so if there's any questions about the minutes that were provided, and Carrie did an excellent job, I might add. If there's any questions about that, let me know.
Okay, lodging tax?
We actually met last night, and I lost track of the time. I thought it was going to be an hour, but it was probably more like two and a half hours. And the committee, 5 members of that committee were there to offer their opinion and some assessment of the tourism strategic plan. They did come up with a couple of ideas that I think Randy's going to tease out and will be presented with the draft next week. I think on the whole, they appreciated getting the communication and getting some of the direction from council. They were suggesting maybe the priorities would be easier to grasp than the strict percentages for some of the categories of the details. But it'll make more sense when we see the plan at the work study next week.
Okay. Festival of Chimes and Lights?
We'll be meeting next Monday at 3:30 here at City Hall.
Okay. We are to the mayor's report, and one of the things that we're working with, Randy and I have been trying to get better quality recordings of our work studies. These microphones work very well because they're in front of us, and the microphones that we have that are similar to that one, we have 6 of them now. Do we have 6 stands yet? Okay, so the next work study, we'll have 6 of them. They really need to be placed, and they're not multi-directional microphones. So if I'm sitting over here, you can't pick me up. So we need to make an effort to speak into those microphones, and we'll try to strategically place those so that we can pick up our conversations better and have a better quality recording. So it's enough on that. And tree removal, we did a fair amount of it last week on the boulevard, getting ready for Tremont. We had a number of road closures on the boulevard last year. related to fallen trees. And so we're getting ready for Tremont, because that is 166 to Tremont is probably going to be a fairly traveled route to avoiding the construction of Tremont next year. So Public Works worked very hard last week for 3 straight days, removing a number of trees. And this week they're down on 166 with the road closure, doing the same operations. So I'm going to go out and check that out probably tomorrow, and then probably write them a thank you email, because they've done a lot of hard work and did a really good job. You can hardly tell on the boulevard, and they took a number of trees out.
That's good.
It looks really good. We had recently, and we're going to bring this forward to our next council meeting in 2 weeks. Part of our, some of the code we adopted early in the year had a membrane structure fee of $400, and it was really intended. A number of the fireworks stands are using membrane structures, and we wanted the ability to inspect those structures for safety. And it came to our attention, and we had somebody from the fireworks industry call us and advise me that the RCW only allows a $100 fee or $200 for 2 years, and we couldn't charge that fee. Even though it wasn't related to the fireworks stand, their fee was all encompassing. And I took his comment to Sharon, and Sharon reviewed it, and it appears he's correct. So the only other folks that are using those membrane structures, I don't think we're too concerned with. It would be like Kathleen's event downtown, or maybe some of the car shows, and that really wasn't the concern we had. It was related to the fireworks stands, and we can't regulate that beyond what's in the RCW. So our intent is to bring that back before you and rescind that portion of the code in 2 weeks. Mark's got some other code updates that we're going to wrap this into, so I just wanted to bring this. So we've refunded a couple of those $400 fees since then, since we know we can't be collecting them. We did the Community Service Day, and a couple of you folks expressed a desire to possibly place an ad. I emailed you some prices. The least expensive option was a couple $100 for a quarter page, and almost $400 for a half page. I did personally thank a number of those folks, wrote an email, put it on our website, put it on Facebook. We didn't budget for this, so if you really want to, we probably need to add something into the budget or a budget amendment, and so I'm just looking for some direction from you guys if you really did want an ad put in the paper.
No?
So
I think they'd rather get a box of candy than see an ad in the paper.
they got a personal thank you.
I like the idea.
Showing appreciation. I mean, go ahead.
I think I mentioned the idea, and I like the idea from the perspective of getting the word out and making this more of an annualized and known event. So I'm in favor of a quarter page small ad. Thank you, but I'm happy to go with the majority of the council.
I guess if we continue to do this, which I hope we do, maybe in future budgets, maybe we build some marketing money into the budget, and then we wouldn't have to do a budget amendment. But that's your guys' call as we're developing, the next budget. But it doesn't appear there's a whole lot of support for that. I've also provided a draft copy of the retreat. That's for you to take back. If you could just email any corrections you spotted. I caught a few. You don't have to review it this evening. Just get your corrections back to me. I would hope next week we'd publish this and put it on the webpage is my goal. If I don't hear back from you by next Tuesday.
After the work study.
How about Thursday? Okay, Brandy will be here Friday, so we'll have it published the end of next week. So get back to me by the middle of next week if you could. Brandy can throw this on the projector if you want. I've got.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Were we going to talk about this at the work study?
It isn't on the agenda yet.
Okay.
This is just the document from Claire capturing everything we did, and really the only action items are in the top box. And there's narrative here at the bottom, but we can bring this back to a future work study if you guys would like to.
I think it's worth a check-in at some point, maybe not so soon, but at some point, it's nice to sort of look at how we're doing.
September work study?
That sounds good.
That gives us some time to implement some of the things that we discussed here, and then maybe we can check in and say, yeah, we've done them all, or
40%.
yeah, or where we're at in it. So maybe add this to the September work study. That's a good call. I had an opportunity Monday to meet with Chief Wright. They have purchased $5 million worth of new fire trucks, and there's a number of them up there. And the neat thing I saw was that these trucks now not only have the station number, but the name of the community they're serving. So you can see that on the projector there. It says Port Orchard Station 31, which is the one at the top of Tremont. So this is the new fire truck that's up there in their shop right now being equipped, and in the next month or so, it should be on the streets.
Looks like it's rechargeable, too.
It's rechargeable.
So, all right. There's two pictures. There's a full shot, and then I zoomed in on the state, Port Orchard 31. Commissioner Charlotte Garrido is working. I've got the homeless committee I've been working on. She's got her Homes for All committee that she's doing, and they're doing a tiny home build. They're going to be 3 tiny homes built behind AutoZone there in the parking lot this Saturday at 8 a.m. If you want to go pound a nail or go watch or you know, any way you could want to support that, stop up, get some information. I committed to Commissioner Garrido that we could put one of those homes down on our, what everybody's referring to as Gravelly Park, downtown on Bay Street, for a display and with some information with it. We won't be housing people in it down there. It's just to display it. I forgot to, I passed all my copies out. The last is the artwork. The black and white was what Clancy submitted. Cindy gave me the top one. The middle one is the one I'd previously presented, and the bottom one of the 3 is the original artwork. And I just want to go print some stickers, so you tell me which one you guys like.
I would just like to bring to everyone's attention that we are working on the trademark policy. And the policy we've been working on is very clear that there can be no alterations or changes to the wayfinding logo. With that said, I'm in favor of not making any changes to it and using the bottom one.
Other comments?
I would agree with that because I think less is more.
And I think in every iteration here, it just looks like an afterthought. It just doesn't quite fit.
I will say the one that Cindy's presented in a larger format, it actually looks pretty cool, but when you shrink it down and the application, it got pretty small.
Is that the top one?
Yeah, the top one. Yeah. It's almost, yeah, it's like Sean said, it's an afterthought. What does that say?
Because it is.
It just needs the
It is
parent
an
marks.
afterthought.
Have the little arrow, like, oops.
So with that, it appears we should just stick with what we have, the original artwork. I'm gonna get some stickers made for those hard hats and then some badges that'll be iron-on made that'll get ironed onto those vests. And that was, all that was about at this point is I wanted to put some artwork on the pieces that we were getting. So that's all I have for my report this evening, and we are to the report of the department heads. All the way to you, to Mr. Bond, first.
Well, I have an exciting announcement. The mayor doesn't even know about this one, but Fred, I know you'll be excited because you asked me about it in my job interview when I came here, and it's about the Kmart site. And we have, somebody has applied for permits to bring back a retail use into the Kmart site. It's apparently going to be housewares and sporting goods. I'm not familiar with the company that's moving in, and I don't even remember the name that Mr. Robinson told me of today, but something is happening there in the way of tenant improvements, so that's exciting.
Do you remember if it was a chain name?
It did not sound familiar to me, so I'm
So
not sure.
it's not a storage unit place there after all?
No, they pulled their application out. The building actually sold to another owner in California, and they have found a tenant for it.
Housewares and sporting goods?
That's good.
What an interesting combination.
When did it sell?
It's a good question. I think
This
it's
is a
been in the last
surprise.
2 to 3 months.
Okay, but this, I'm sorry, but we all know I'm the recovering banker. When will we get the REIT money on that?
We may have already. It wasn't, obviously, it wasn't a huge sale because it didn't,
Make the paper?
it didn't move the needle a lot. I mean, REIT's been healthy. So the apartment sale that was very large, that jumped out to everybody. That's exciting news because it has been, we have been attracting above budget though on REIT.
I did my part, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
All right. Next, during this meeting, I emailed you something from WashDOT that's being forwarded. It's related to the SR16 corridor study, and they've released a survey looking for input on priorities for fixing congestion from the bridge all the way through Gorst. And so I'd recommend that all of you complete that survey, share it with people, and I think the clerk's office and the mayor and I are going to talk about pushing that out through the website and Facebook tomorrow for the city. So take a look at that, and I would just encourage you to really look at the Tremont and the Sedgwick intersections, as well as the possibility of an intersection at the Bethel crossing a little bit south of Sedgwick, and
Bellmeyer is the cross street.
that we get a lot of comments in support of those types of projects. And then finally, at the last work study meeting, the council said they were going to review the single-family design guidelines. I still plan on bringing that back at next week's work study meeting, but I haven't heard from anyone. I think I was supposed to get some comments emailed to me, and I haven't seen those yet, so just a reminder to study that between now and next week. Thanks.
Sharon, do you have anything for us?
No, nothing further tonight, thank you.
Brandy?
So the only thing I have is just to let you know that we are very short-staffed in the clerk's office. So I have one staff out on medical leave. I have been summoned to serve on a jury trial that is expected to last 2 to 3 weeks. And we have attempted to get a temp, and we are looking for another replacement for a temp. And hopefully first part of June, we should be fully staffed. So if you can be patient, I'd appreciate it. And we received the flags. Sticks aren't as long as we anticipated them to be, but I think
Big cocktails.
so. But I think it's more of you get what you pay for. So, price is right, right?
Yeah,
So,
price is right.
and there was 2,000, and they're down at my office. And so, if you haven't seen me for your portion, come and see Michelle during the, or if it's this week, you can come and see me. If it's next week, you can see Michelle.
$6.
Okay. All
That's
right.
all I have.
Thank you. We're at our second citizen comment period. Anyone wishing to comment this evening? None? Okay. All right. Mr.
I
Dean?
just had a quick go to the order. The old house that has sat empty for the 10 years I've lived in the neighborhood across from the old Group Health Kaiser Permanente site is being demolished. So that's.
the green one?
Yes.
It was that reddish.
I saw it today.
But
Yeah,
it's just
I
been-
talked to the gentleman that got the permit here a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, so that's a good news story, because I think it's been empty for at least 10 years.
So,
But what I'm curious about is what's going
well,
in.
we do know, right?
It's zone commercial there.
It's
Yeah.
There's no development activity on it at this point.
Yeah, we've had pre-application meetings on that in the past, but I don't think any of those individuals are involved. I know that I think the property sold not that long ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And so presumably they're waiting for the Tremont project to get built before they're going to do something, but hopefully we'll hear something soon, and I'll let you know if I hear anything.
I think it is going to be a gas station.
Okay.
We haven't had any active pre-apps or meetings on it, but it is zone commercial there. I mean, I think it sold immediately after we got our funding for Tremont. So someone's speculating.
It's sad to see a structure like that go, because there's a lot of history in it, but at the same time, it was just
Dilapidated.
about ready to fall on itself.
One other good of the order, I was recently reviewing sales tax data, and I was really, I didn't realize the impact that the restaurant industry has to our community. and in particular fast food. It was very interesting. You know, you go to the grocery store and you don't pay sales tax, so it didn't really register with me. You go out to eat, and that's taxed. And where we can, I think we really want to encourage additional restaurant establishments in our community, because they do contribute a significant amount of revenue to our bottom line. So I was just wanted to share that. So with that, the sun's still out. We started a half an hour early, and go enjoy your evening.